without causing high rates of inflation. And by printing a lot of money, they would buy government bonds, and that would finance government spending and let the government spend a lot of money and stimulate the economy that way. So this was Goldilocks for 3.5 decades. But suddenly now globalization is going at least partially into reverse.
Yep.
First, we had COVID and the supply chain bottlenecks all around the world. Next thing you know, Russia's invaded Ukraine, pushing up energy prices, oil prices, gas prices, wheat prices, corn prices, another big round of inflation. And suddenly the central banks are in shock because for the first time in 35 years, they have to deal with inflation. Inflation in the UK is at 10%. It's 10% in Germany. It's practically 10% in the United States. And so now, if they try to support the economy by printing more money, that's going to just fan the inflationary flames. But if they don't print more money, then credit's going to contract and the economy is going to spiral into crisis.
Because the English people still have no idea. Most Americans have no idea what happened, and they actually believe the Fed can save them. But as my friend Jim Record says, who's going to bail out the Fed? Who's going to bail out the Bank of England? The central bank system is under crisis also right now, and that's what Richard was alluding to 20-something years ago. And so the question is next is what's happening in China? I mean, they have the biggest bubble in real estate ever, right?
Absolutely. Well beyond real estate. They have excess capacity of everything on a mammoth scale. I once was told by a Chinese professor that in his town, the city government had built 2 beautiful big new bridges. The only thing is they hadn't built the river yet.
What's going to happen with the Japanese yen, and why is North Korea firing rockets at them?
The Bank of Japan, the Japanese central bank, is determined to keep their interest rates at a very low level. Even though interest rates in the United States and everywhere else, most other countries are going up very rapidly. Japanese interest rates are only 1/4%, and the Bank of Japan plans to keep them there. And they can do that, but that means no one's going to want to hold yen because you can't earn any money if the interest rate's 25 basis points. They want to sell their yen and buy dollars because the dollar you can get 3.5% interest. So that means the Japanese yen is falling. It's at a 20-year low. And unless the Bank of Japan changes its policy, it looks like it's going to keep falling.
I'm 4th generation Japanese American, and I always laugh about it because the Japanese per capita have the highest savings rate, demographically, the highest savings rate of any population. And that's why the Japanese aren't the smartest. You know, I mean, why would you save money when the governments are printing it? So that's why in Rich Dad Poor Dad I put savers are losers. And now American savers are getting their butts handed to them because they're going to print even more. So the other thing too then is, what do you think about the BRICS? See, Americans can't see the BRICS. It's out of their picture. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the Belt and Road Project or the Silk Road Project. What do you think those guys are up to against the dollar?
They used to all be very strong and moving together so they could be grouped together under this heading of the BRICS. But now they're all moving in different directions for different reasons. Russia's economy is in serious trouble because of its ill-advised invasion of Ukraine, and it's not doing very well. They've got lots of sanctions imposed on them. They can't import any high-tech semiconductors, for instance, so they're going to run out of weapons. So their economy is in crisis. And of course, as you know, I believe that 20 years from now, oil's not going to have any value whatsoever. And their economy is entirely fueled by their earnings from oil and gas. So they're looking at a very dire future, in my opinion. China, they have the biggest bubble in history since they have a totalitarian government that make the banks continue lending and continuing to invest. Their bubble will probably not collapse into any kind of Great Depression, but it's not at all inconceivable that they'll just stop growing the way Japan stopped growing 20 years ago. And that'll be a huge change for the world because China's growth has driven the global economy since 2008 when the US stopped playing that role. And so no growth in China is a very big deal. India has better prospects because it's a little more friendly with the United States, and a lot of companies now realize that they'd probably better move their factories out of China, which the United States is becoming increasingly hostile toward, and move it somewhere safer with a lot of low-cost labor like India. Its prospects are the best among the BRICS, in my opinion.
And let me give one more point out there. For all you guys who are working from home right now, your job replacement lives in India today, because if you can come in via the computer and you don't need to go to the office because you don't want to go to the office like many workers don't, then guys like me are going to say, well, why don't I just hire somebody in India? Because that's what technology is doing. The problem with most people, and I see it every day, Micro means that you got your head up your butt and you can't see anything outside of your neighborhood or your gas pump. What's going on throughout the world? People cannot see it because it's out of sight. If you're prepared for what's about to happen or what is happening today, it's good news. But if you're not prepared, you're going to get your butt handed to you. The reason this is important, because we're crashing, like it or not. You know, I'm a Marine pilot. I went down 3 times. And the question is not if you're going to crash. The question is, will you survive the crash? And that's what I loved about the Marine Corps. We practice crashing every single day. And so when the 3 times it happened in Vietnam, we survived. So today, you know, I'm making more money hand over fist, but unfortunately the rest of the world's going broke. You know, like I went to school, my background is oil. I drove oil tankers for Standard Oil. And so today I own oil wells. I don't own oil stocks. And when Biden cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, the first act he did was an act of sabotage, what Biden did, in my opinion. I was selling oil at $30 a barrel. Immediately when he cut that off, it went to $130 a barrel. Meanwhile, the middle class and poor got poorer, and guys like me got richer. And that's what I mean about Rich Dad's prophecy. If you prepare, you'll come out okay. But you got your micro watch and you got your head up your butt thinking, oh, the Fed's going to save me. America's the greatest. I don't have to worry. I got a pension. I got a 401k. I'll take laps around the rosary beads tonight. So just as Biden cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, which ran from Canada to America, recently the Nord Stream 2, the pipeline running out of Russia, was torpedoed, was bombed, and was in 200 feet of water. I mean, the charge to blow that thing up, I mean, God, you know, I'm a Marine, I fought and all this stuff, but I wouldn't know how to blow up a pipeline, you know what I mean? That is really, really big. But the question is, what does it mean? What's the significance, like Biden cutting off the Keystone XL pipeline in America, which is an act of treason, in my opinion, and then the Nord Stream 2 pipeline gets demolished intentionally. And it's Russia's major source of income is exporting power or energy.
There's no hard evidence about who did it, so this is purely speculation on my part. But if I had to guess, I believe that Russia blew them up. It was not just Nord Stream 2.